So you have heard someone saying, I'm applying Agile methodology. You have heard someone saying, I'm a certified Agile project manager. I'm a certified Agile project implementer. You've heard someone saying, I know about Agile. So what exactly is this Agile methodology that we talk about in project management? You're going to find out as we go through this video. So let's get started. So in project management, there are basically three types of methodology that you can also choose from before you even initiate the project, whether you're a project sponsor, whether you're a project manager, or probably you're even a project team member. So the three items or the three methodologies are, there is one which is called predictive methodology. So in predictive methodology, this is where you actually execute a project where most of the things are actually very clear. For example, you know the cost. For example, you might know even the timeline and also the scope. So you use what is called predictive methodology. I'm also going to create another video on predictive methodology so that at least you can compare the two or the three of them. Then the second one that we have is Agile methodology. So in Agile methodology, in most cases, you are focusing more on delivering as much scope as possible within a specific timeline and also within a specific cost. So the idea is to have value-driven delivery in Agile methodology. Then also we have the hybrid methodology. In hybrid methodology, in most cases, you are mixing the two. You are mixing both predictive and also Agile methodology. Sometimes you start with predictive and then you finish with Agile, or sometimes you start with Agile and then you also finish with predictive. So these are the three main methodologies that you have to choose from if ever you want to execute any project. But in this particular video, we are going to cover Agile methodology. So let's try to understand what is Agile. So Agile methodology is value-driven methodology, which means when you're executing a project, you are focusing more on the value that you're going to produce. And you find that you go through a series of activities, and we're going to cover that in this particular video. But at the end of the day, you want to provide value as quickly as possible. So how do we provide this value? There is a term or a concept called minimum viable product, which is MVP. So it's a very common approach that is used in Agile methodology. So what does it mean? It means you create a usable product. It might not have all the features, but at least it's usable. What it means is the users or the beneficiaries of the product or the project, they start seeing value as quickly as possible. And then you start incrementing the values as you go. So we are going to cover two types of Agile methodology, the iterative and also the incremental. So this is what we're also going to cover as part of this. But let us understand exactly what is Agile methodology. So in Agile methodology, the first thing that you have to consider is iterative delivery. So what do we mean by this? It means you get feedback as quickly as possible, or you work in collaboration with the users as much as possible. You create the first, the first part or the first model of the product. Say, for example, it's a product or of a result or even of a service. And then you present it to the end users. And then the end users are going to have the first feel of the product or the service or even the result. And then they are going to give feedback in terms of what needs to be corrected, what needs to be improved. So Agile methodology, initially, it was very much oriented towards software development. But it later on evolved to be used in almost every industry that we have. I can give you an example of a car manufacturing. They just create the first model of the car with everything that works. Then they get feedback from the users. They go back again iteratively. They also create another one. Then the other part of it is incremental. Incremental is a bit different from iterative. Iterative, you take the complete product, you improve or you change features, you present to the client. But when it comes to incremental, you are putting more features on top of the existing product. That's the main difference between iterative Agile approach and also incremental. Say, for example, I'm going to give you an example for a software product. You have an accounting package you are creating as a product, and you are also, you only had, say for example, accounts receivable. Okay, you don't have account payable module. So you first deploy the account receivable module, whilst the account payable module is being created. Then the next deployment or release that is going to come, it will also put two modules, which means the already existing accounts receivable module and then the new accounts payable module. So that's an increment. So iterative and incremental agile methodologies, they're a bit different. I've seen some project managers mixing the two, but I need you to take it clearly that the two, they're actually different. Iterative, you finish the product, you present to the customer, you get improvement or changes, you start again the product like that. But incremental, you put additional features to the product as you go. So those are the two main types of agile methodology that you must make sure that you are able to differentiate. And like I said earlier, you have predictive or agile. In most places, they want to classify it as predictive and adaptive, which means adaptive, you change as you go. So one of the main items that you consider for agile methodology is customer collaboration all the way up to the end. So in an agile methodology, you want the customer to give you the feedback as quickly as possible. We are going to cover the process of agile methodology as we go. You also want the customer to have a feel of the product that we are also creating. I can tell you, in agile methodology, you use both prototype and also MVP. Let me differentiate the two for you. In most cases, a prototype is not something that is usable, but it's something that can be used to show progress. It's something that can be used also to allow the end users of the project deliverable to see how the product is going to look like. As compared to MVP. MVP, you are actually giving a workable product with just limited features. Okay? So you want to have collaboration from the customer all the way up to the end. We are going to cover on that. And one of the items you can differentiate agile methodology from predictive is what is called adaptive planning or rolling wave planning. So what do we mean by rolling wave planning? In agile methodology, you only plan before you actually execute what is called a sprint. We are going to cover all these terms as we go through the video. So you only plan, the more you get more information and the more requirements, they become very clear. So you plan against that and then you work on that. So this is part of what is agile methodology. You are focusing more on value than focusing on time. So let us go through again and understand more terms as we go through the agile methodology. So in this section of the video, we are going to cover why agile was born. You might be asking, but predictive has been there some hundreds of years ago, although documented or undocumented, but it has been there. Then why should we have agile? So there were certain weaknesses that were being picked when it comes to predictive project methodology, and one of them is in terms of there's a lot of formalized design and planning at the beginning of the project. But as you go through the project, you find customer requirements, they evolve, and also in most predictive environments, you execute the project and you only see the benefits or the results right at the end. So it was apparent to have something that can give you results as quickly as possible. Even if you are executing a project that is going to take some years or so, but at least within a shortest possible time, you are able to see some results. So waterfall approach was actually very formalized, and also predictive was not allowing for scaling, which means as you try to increase the scope, predictive does not allow you to do that. If you want to increase the scope or you want to change anything, it has to go through the formal change process, get approved, then you come back, you change the documents. But this is a bit different when it comes to agile methodology. In agile methodology, you accept changes as you go. What is going to happen is there's going to be prioritization of those changes or requirements or even user stories in agile methodology. So that is going to show the difference. You're going to see it as we go through the flow of agile methodology. So now, Agile methodology can also be used in so many industry. So initially it was for software, but now it can be used for other industry. You'll find that when it comes to projects where you're supposed to create a new product, Agile methodology is a bit in terms of speed, is faster than predictive. Remember, I said predictive, you wait until the end and then you get the product. But for Agile methodology, you start seeing the benefits of the product as you go, either through incremental or through iterative approaches. In a nutshell, let us look at the flow of Agile process. So Agile process is going to start with the product backlog. Okay. So once you have your product backlog, there's going to be a sprint meeting. There's going to be a sprint planning meeting by the development team, which means they are going to pick the prioritized product features or user stories from the product backlog. They have a meeting, sprint planning meeting. They agree on what is going to be executed or created in the next sprint. So in that sprint planning meeting, they come up with what is called a sprint backlog. So the sprint backlog is also going to be used by the sprint team or sprint development team to create the new features in the next sprint. So once the sprint backlog has been agreed, they go through the sprint, which means they do the actual execution. But before they do the actual execution, they also do the normal project management activities like planning, risk identification, stakeholder identification, and so on and so forth. So after execution of the sprint, they now have incremental features of a product or a service. So they invite the customer to a meeting. This meeting is called sprint review meeting. So this sprint review meeting, the purpose of this sprint review meeting is to show the customer what has been produced and to allow the customer to give feedback. Remember, Agile, we said it's collaboration, customer collaboration from the beginning all the way up to the end. So during the sprint review meeting, this is where they invite the customer, they demonstrate, or the development team is going to demonstrate what features were actually added or incremented into the product, and then they get customer feedback. So once that feedback is received, they note down whether they have to make some changes or it has been accepted by the customer. Then after the sprint review meeting, the next part of the flow of Agile is to go through what is called retrospective meeting. Retrospective meeting is mainly the development team, not the customer. And you could be asking, Oscar, what is this retrospective meeting all about? Retrospective meeting is a meeting that is going to be convened to make sure that at least you understand how you managed to run the project, what were the lessons learned, both positive lessons and negative lessons. You also want to understand and appreciate what are the do's and don'ts. You also want to understand and appreciate what you can do more, what you can do less based on your previous iteration. You also want to understand the velocity. Do you need to increase? Do you have to reduce? So you could be asking, what is velocity? In velocity, in Agile project approach, is how much load can the team carry in terms of features in an iteration? How much can they produce in a given period? Say, for example, the iteration, they were able to do, it's normally done in points, 50 points. So if you've got 500, you do the mathematics to see how many iterations you need. So velocity in Agile methodology is very, very important to understand how much the team can carry within a specific iteration and deliver what is expected. So a retrospective meeting is very important. It feeds into the next iteration. Remember, you're talking about what you can do more, what you can do less, the do's and don'ts, so that your next iteration is going to be better.